can't stay.
Alright guys, welcome back to the April edition, the multi-floors update. This is Arthur here with LV Game Dev. Rob has the night off this evening, and I'm gonna be taking you guys through the latest update. We got a lot to show you. This is probably gonna run a little long. I'll try to be brief, but that's not my strong suit. The game is really, it's leveled up this cycle. You know, pun intended, we bring multiple floors to you. We've got a great lineup. There's balance changes, there's multiple floors, moving walkways, escalators, stairways, a whole new baggage system. We've got foreign language translations, got smarter passenger AI, I mean a whole host of bug fixes. There's a lot for you. Let's dive right on in and check out what we've got. A little later on towards the end, we're also going to be talking about some of the new stuff that's coming up in the next cycle. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump right into this, huh? Let's talk about the big ticket item, and that is multiple floors. I said a long time ago, I believe I mentioned this on Reddit, I'm sure I snuck out of my mouth on the Steam forums as well. I kind of see multiple floors as the holy grail of a game like this. Back 10, 15, 20 years ago, when I was playing these kinds of games, and I mean, I spent hundreds of hours playing Theme Park. Back then, something like multiple floors would have been amazing. At the time, you know, I posted on a Hacker News thread not long ago and was talking about pathfinding and some of the difficulties. And I had mentioned maybe Age of Empires 1 should have just added, they needed to add some concurrency, or that's one possible solution. And somebody replied and said that these were Pentium 1 166 megahertz computers. Well, that is to say, I regard multiple floors as maybe the holy grail of a game like this. When we first started implementing multiple floors, I actually was a little bit concerned at what it might do to the gameplay. I started to feel a little bit more comfortable with it as we got further in. I had some reservations. I still have some small reservations. It adds some complexity, and one thing that we've tried really hard to do with SimAirport, and this requires a lot more effort than it seems like, but we've tried to make sure that the complexity is well balanced with simplicity. The idea is to make sure that every system you see is really advanced, but that to use it at a bare minimum is very, very simple. That's kind of at the heart of our principles when it comes to working on SimAirport, is things should generally just work. You don't want to have to spend 3 hours reading or watching a tutorial, or there shouldn't be a book that comes with the game to teach you how to play. You should be able to generally figure it out. That said, a tutorial is definitely needed, and it's something we're going to get addressed next cycle, a year in. Things are much more stable now. We're not going to be making drastic changes to many of these systems. We feel very comfortable going ahead and doing that. But multiple floors has surpassed our expectations. Some of the maps that we see come in, and this is an example of one. I didn't build this map. This map is beyond what I would really have ever expected to be seeing. And I should know by now that we always are going to see stuff like this, but it's just so cool to really see it, to see what people are able to make with this game. It really makes us happy. It's really fun to see. So what we've got is over here, there's a new level selector. And I'm not going to show you everything that you can do with this, but I will talk through some of the main points. You've got this new level selector. You've also got some hotkeys. You can change them, page up and page down, or the bracket left and bracket right on your keyboard are the defaults. You can change that in preferences, obviously. You've got page up, page down. You can set these to be any key that you'd like. That's really the main thing to know with multiple floors. Beyond that, you can create an airport just the same way you've been making airports. We've added some new objects to support multiple floors, and those are these escalators you see, and more escalators. This map has a lot of escalators and a lot of passengers. See if this player has stairs. You can actually double click these and you can switch between the floors, or you can manually switch between them. When you're above ground, you'll see that the floor below has roofs. That's what they look like. Maybe not the easiest thing to understand or tell, but it's a little tough given our perspective to make this perfect. We continue to improve it. You'll notice when you're underground, you can kind of see the outline of what's above you. I actually just today saw a forum post, a few people talking about maybe having the ability to toggle this on and off. That's certainly something that we can do. We'll take a look at getting in. But you'll see everything is kind of grayscaled out, but you've got a nice view of your airport. With multiple floors, we also added moving walkways, which probably the #1 thing that people have been asking for. Finally got it in. Maybe tried to get a little too much into this patch, but I'm thrilled to get it out there. You guys have been having a lot of fun with it. It's awesome to see it. I'm really glad to get some of this stuff out. Let me talk a little bit about the gates and how they work now. Small gates require a door on the ground floor. Passengers board the gates on the ground floor. You can now upgrade and you can add stairs, and they need to be placed there. This UI, UX, maybe not perfect, but you can add stairs, and by adding stairs to a small gate, it'll now expect the door to be on the second floor. For large gates and extra large gates, the door is always expected to be on the second floor. So you'll see on the first floor, on the ground floor, there is nothing. On the second floor, you've got your door. There is one caveat here. We have made sure that this patch is fully backwards compatible. It took a little bit of extra work, but we got it done. The patch notes outline this very clearly, but just to reiterate, in order to make it so that your airports, when you load an old airport into this patch, the gates are going to continue to work off of the floor that they had been working on, and you'll be able to make a one-time upgrade by clicking on the gate, and there will be a button over here that allows you to make that one-time upgrade to change them to working the way they do now. You cannot change new gates that you build. They'll always, if you build a large or extra large gate, it's always going to be the second floor. If you upgrade an existing save large or XL gate, it's gonna always be the second floor from then on. You can't downgrade them. Small gates, you'll always be able to add stairs or remove those stairs to downgrade it back to the first floor. We're doing this for realism purposes. The only reason we're even allowing you to make the one-time transition is so that it's not a nightmare when you load in your old saves that only had one floor. When you load those in, we don't want you to be totally stuck or have all your flights canceled, your airline ratings go way down. So really we're just doing it as a courtesy to make things easy, make it easier to upgrade. There's plenty here to talk about with multiple floors. Probably the most important thing to understand is that escalators are single direction. They're one ways. So a passenger can only enter this escalator here on the green side, and they will only exit on the red side. From there, if they want to get back up, they'll need to find the nearest escalator. And this may seem really simple, really obvious, but this kind of stuff, has huge repercussions. All of our AI needs to know that just because we're near an escalator that attaches to that floor doesn't mean that we're near that floor. We need to find one that actually gets us there. And at the end of the day, this becomes what's called a directed graph. It just adds a lot of overhead to all of our calculations, from pathfinding to AI to object selection to task assignment and just basic distance heuristics. Everything has to account for the fact that one-ways are now possible. And so while we haven't added a strictly one-way door object, that is in essence what the escalators are. They just also allow you to transition between floors. So that's the main thing to know. Stairways, which are cheaper, these are always two direction. They go both directions. And so the reason that I mentioned this is that it's now a requirement that every sector or every area in your airport must have a path to be able to get out of the airport. And the easiest way to think about this is imagine if there's a fire drill. The passengers need a way to get to an exit. They must be able to get out of the airport. And so we've put in a new validation. You'll see warnings sometimes. It'll say this sector cannot be vacated or this sector cannot be reached. That means that the passenger you need to provide a path that would allow a passenger to get from that area to the exit, to the front of your airport, or really to the pickup zone. The same thing applies before security. So if you have a one-way escalator going up and then you have your security, let's say, and that's not quite what we have here, but imagine you need a non-secure way for those passengers to be able to get out. So the passenger his only option needs to be not to be forced to go through security, because if there's a fire, he needs to be able to turn around and hit the exit right away. This will cause some confusion. We'll be in the forums helping out. We're on Discord a lot. Even if we're not talking on there, we're often on there. The entire community, especially those of you playing on Edge, really understand this pretty well at this point. If you're confused, if you're having issues, post a screenshot. We'll help you. Somebody from the community will help. There's a great community. Don't let this stuff frustrate you. And if all else fails, try your layout with stairways instead of escalators, especially until you really get the hang of what the one-ways mean, what the repercussions are. It may just be an easier way to kind of tackle the problem and get used to the fact that you now have, 5 times the buildable area and a whole lot more complexity possible. Really, that's the gist of multiple floors. You can see here, we've seen all kinds of layouts. You'll see here that on this save, the passengers are coming in, they're hitting security, they then are being directed down escalators, some moving walkways to get them to the other side quicker, and then they're coming up on this side, and this is the actual terminal on the complete opposite side of the taxiways. Really neat designs you could do like this. You could basically create tunnels. Yeah, there's a ton you can do with this. I hope you guys are happy with it. Performance still needs improved. There's stuff that we need to improve with it, but generally it should be as stable or more stable than before. Performance maybe is down a little bit now. That's something that we're going to be, you saw us pull up the Trello board. We're going to really focus on that again for the first time in about a year. Every update we work on performance some, right? About a year ago, a little less maybe, we spent an entire patch cycle working on performance, and we got probably about 60, 70, maybe 80% gains. Massive gains. We're going to take a patch cycle and really focus largely on performance. Couple other things we're going to sneak in. We're getting a little faster at some of this stuff, just getting better at it, but rest assured performance will be getting better. In the meantime though, I really do hope you're happy with this. Let us know if you have questions, ideas, any quirks. If you spot some bugs, let us know and we'll jump on it, just like we always do. Okay, so let's talk about some of the smaller things we got introduced into this update. Don't know if we have any good visual for this. It's probably easier just for me to give you an idea, but one of them is right here. This is such a small little thing, but you'll see the Taxiways sprites are different now. A little bit darker, a little bit less bright. We're working on that. It's something we mentioned a while back in the forums, that there's some sprites on here that were just really old or original with the game just starting development some 2+ years ago now, and they just didn't fit all that well anymore. We're starting to go back and get some of those addressed. Like everything in SimAirport, it's all a work in progress. We're open to making any changes. We're probably not going to redo construction from the ground up at this point, but especially when it comes to art, visual, or gameplay systems, we're always looking for ways we can make improvements. And so these sprites are no exception. You should find they just fit in a little bit better generally. We did the same thing on the gates. The gates fit in much better. We've got these new easement, I call them, sprites to really kind of blend this together, give it a much more cohesive look. It's all really little stuff, even the baggage cart, just today, as it drives, the trailer will now swing and sway. We really try hard not to focus on this kind of stuff too much. We want to make sure the gameplay is fun. And then we come back to this kind of thing. And, we've taken some heat for that. There's a lot to be said for great graphics, but gameplay is king at the end of the day in our minds. And so that's where our focus has been. But We try to slide in this kind of stuff, especially as we kind of wrap up some of these patches and towards the end of cycles. So hopefully you enjoyed those. There's a topic that I see has come up a few times. Probably going to go on a little bit of a rant here about it, but gameplay balance, right? We've said for a long time, gameplay balance is off. It needs improvement. We've consistently been trying to work towards some improvement, but we've not taken any time to put dedicated effort into it yet. Our opinion has been, you know, bugs always come first, and then we've really focused on stuff like performance, gameplay systems, gameplay really systems and experience itself. We're probably getting a little bit long in the tooth on that though at this point, and it's time to go back and make the balance a little bit better and really focus some time on it. We've made a couple of changes in this patch to start addressing that, or at least give you some instant gratification style relief. It is not balanced yet. There are a number of things you'll see on the roadmap that we mentioned. There's a number of balance related items on there. There are several items that aren't balance related themselves, but that will very much affect balance or help us achieve a better progression. But a few of the things we did in this update to try to get it balanced, one of the biggest ones, most notable and kind of coolest to me, is we've added a 100% on time bonus. And what this does is for every flight that you have in a given day, if you get 100% of the passengers onto that flight and the flight arrives on time and leaves on time, then you're going to get at least a $200 per flight bonus for that day. Each consecutive day that you hit that bonus, the bonus amount per flight will increase, and you can get it all the way up to $2,000 a day per flight max. So, you know, if you have 10 flights, you could be talking $20,000 a day just from this bonus. It kind of adds some incentive to not just max out all your flights, because you can actually make more money by finding a kind of middle ground where you've got a very efficient airport that isn't just constantly purely driven based off of throughput in order to make money. You know, and this is just a small little thing that we've added, but it's kind of a foot in the door towards the balance we're looking to achieve. It adds kind of a nice weight towards the efficiency-minded gameplay we're looking to really see out of SimAirport. And we already see that already. It's just now you've got a financial incentive directly aligned with it. A few other things we did on balance. Again, these are all just short-term things, but initial starting funds were increased by 200 to 250K. We have made the first 10K of daily net profit exempt from income tax completely. And that also serves to move the first tax bracket out to over 10K net profit. So it's really a fairly drastic reduction in income tax. The base tax rate on property and property taxes, so the land value and the improvements, those have been reduced pretty substantially. We reduced a number of additional costs here too. The administrators have now gotten much cheaper, both the hourly and the hiring cost. It varies by administrator, but across the board, we pretty much reduced those, some more than others. Kiosk worker hourly costs were reduced. The hourly costs on a number of objects came down. You're gonna see pricing is no longer on the research menu. You no longer need to research pricing at all. So pull up the ops control panel and you're gonna see pricing is automatically shown. This was a clear one. There's no reason to have this hurdle. We've added estimated taxes up here, so you can get an idea of what your taxes are going to be for the day, just improving this estimated cash flow. We've added a new report to the Finance Hub called Airport Value. Right now, this is only for display purposes. The idea here is to start giving you some transparency into property tax, but also in the next cycle, and you'll see this on Trello, in the next cycle, we're going to be adding a sell your airport mechanic. Some of the numbers you see here are going to be used to come up with your airport's valuation. We're also going to be revising property tax further, and we'll basically be deriving the property tax off of these numbers. So this is just kind of looking ahead a little bit, but we did go ahead and add this report into the current default. You know, there are tweaks across the board. Passenger AI got much smarter. The distance heuristics are basically spot on. They should make a much stronger effort at getting to their flights now. We've been making small tweaks here and there, but we finally have a real distance heuristic that is kind of the missing link to be able to figure out, is it okay for an agent, a passenger, to walk way over there and come back? Well, if we don't know if it's way over there or not, how do we know? Now we know, and the passengers should really be a good bit smarter when it comes to making those kind of decisions. They're not perfect yet. It's something I really want to work on is the like events, just really more rich passenger, but they should be much better now just as is. So a number of other tweaks in here. I mean, PA speakers are much more effective. Information need was tweaked. Yeah, and there is one awesome new report I'd love to show you guys. It's probably the report that I use most when we receive saves or people having issues with getting passengers on board. It makes it really quick and easy to be able to find these answers. So I know I bring this up in the forum all the time, this PAX AI decisions. Maybe doesn't mean a whole lot to you guys. It tells us the answers in terms of why passengers are doing what they're doing. But when you have this report up, there is some new functionality here, and it allows you to hover over the gate and be able to see where all those passengers are. And this is regardless of level. And so you can also hover over the aircraft or the gate. And if you hover over the gate, you're gonna see all the passengers bound for that gate. If you hover over the aircraft, you're gonna see just passengers for that flight and not flights later today. This is probably my favorite feature. You can see these guys walking underneath here, they're down below. And it just makes it really easy to kind of get a flow, see where the flow is in the airport, maybe where guys are kind of getting grouped up. If you haven't seen this, and I'm not sure, a lot of you I suspect maybe haven't, it is very well worth checking out. It's one of the cooler features in my mind. Okay, so let's keep talking about new stuff in this patch, just a little bit more. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. If you guys want to see it all, please, by all means, go check out the patch notes. We do our best not to put anything small in there, but we also, we're thorough. We keep track of all this stuff. Check it out, though, if you really want to see everything. Going to talk about, honestly, it was a huge thing we added. It doesn't apply to all of you, so it probably doesn't get quite the notoriety, or, you know, it doesn't seem like that much, probably. It really was a ton of work. I'm thrilled to finally have it in. It is language translations or localization support. This is something we've heard asked for since day one, since before day one. It was a big undertaking. We finally got it in. It's not perfect. I think we've got everything translated, though. You know, there's gonna be some stuff that we still need feedback on. It's under gameplay, and je suis parle français un peu. Actually, I don't. That's pretty much all I know. So I went ahead and flipped it over to French. You can see, you know, there's some stuff like this. We're gonna try to get some of these fixed. You're not gonna see them all fixed by the time this hits default. It's gonna be a continual work in progress. There's also gonna be some words that are just poorly translated, and for that, we want your help. So anyway, though, just to give you an idea, I just switched languages. We ask you to go ahead and restart the game when you do that. And you're gonna see, I mean, everything is translated. If you find a place where something isn't translated, please let us know. We did our very best. You know, we've got some overflow stuff here. We'll be working our way through these. The goal here, though, it really is to give you enough to be able to play the game well. You know, all the objects, they're all changed. The search now is language based. We actually made some awesome changes to the search too. You know, if you search now, you're gonna find objects in any category instead of it being restricted to only the category you're in. It makes it a lot easier. It makes it heavenly to be able to find objects, find what you're looking for. Anyways, back to language translations. We've got this implemented. We're shipping with the default version, has a number of languages in it. You know, Chinese, we know that was very highly coveted. Countless reviews that just say we need Chinese, and I know you guys need it. and we needed to get it done. We finally did. German, French, Dutch. These were pretty expensive for us to do. They also required a good bit of time and back and forth. We've done these to get this started. They're the most popular languages that have been asked for, and that's really what we based it on. We also took a little bit of look. We may do one or two more ourselves, but generally we're going to be sending you guys towards the GitHub repo, and I will go ahead and show you that. This is linked, but we've set up this repository, and the purpose of this repository is for you to be able to contribute your translation fixes. You can even start an entirely new translation. Ramses wrote up some awesome instructions. There's some instructions here. If you're familiar with Git or GitHub, you should have no problem figuring this out. But basically, you're going to use pull requests to make edits. Right now, they're just 2 files. You can kind of go through here. You make the change, check it out in game. If it's just, you know, a simple fix, you're going to fix it. And you can actually do all this via the web UI. We'll make sure we review these once, I believe we said at some regular interval. And we'll incorporate them into the build, get them out onto Edge for player feedback, and then they'll end up in the next default patch. You can also, if you wanted to create a brand new language translation altogether for a language we don't have yet, you can come here, put in a pull request, or if you'd like, you can even open an issue and we'll create the folder with an English translation. You can get everything translated and make a pull request, and we'll get it in. You know, we talked a little bit about balance. We've got some stopgap stuff in there already, but just to kind of start thinking towards the next cycle, you know, it's time for that. We've got this Trello board up here. Please interact with it. We've put out this survey. Please definitely check this out. We did this back, I believe it was about April last year. A little bit after we launched, and it was super helpful. If we could get you guys to go fill it out, it's pretty short. We'd really appreciate it though. It's extremely helpful to help guide us. We know not everybody is interested in participating directly on the forum, speaking out. It's probably very few of you, relatively speaking, that are comfortable with that, and so if you don't mind filling out the survey, it just takes a few minutes. It really does help guide us on what we should be working on, what's most important to you, and allows us to really make sure that we're spending our time wisely as we get into this next year of SimAirport's development. You know, we achieved a ton so far, really far more than I expected that we would at sitting just over a year into development. But we're not done yet. Hopefully you guys aren't sick of us. Hopefully you guys don't want us to be done. So if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes to fill this out, we'd really appreciate it. As always, please jump on the forums. Let us know what you're thinking, what issues you're having, what you'd like to see. Get on the Trello board. This is going to be a great new tool to really help you guys understand where we're going at a glance, you know, without having to sort through or read every single post we make or read the novels we sometimes write. Sorry in advance for those. But, you know, we try to be really transparent with you guys, and that's been our mantra throughout all of this. There were plenty of doubters from the beginning, plenty of supporters too. Hopefully you guys feel like we followed through on our commitments. We've done what we've said we would do. And we're not finished. That said, I gotta go on a quick little rant here. You know, we read everything. We really do. We read everything. We reply probably more often than we should. You know, we've been seeing some of these reviews. I wrote probably too lengthy post just a week or so ago. Somebody wrote a thread, says not there yet. And I wrote a long post. I apologize for such a long response. But I guess sometimes I wonder what rush everyone is in. We could have gotten the game stable and improved performance just like we did, and then said we're done and walked away and started on a new game. But that's not what we told you we were gonna do. We said we wanted to build a great game. We're not trying to build a game fast. We want to build a really great game. You know, and we look towards games like RimWorld, Prison Architect, and make no mistake, we don't think that we're Introversion. We don't think that we're Tynan. But we'd like to be in their trail. We want to build a great game. We think we've got the foundation for a fantastic game. We think that there's a lot that we're doing that's really unique. I mean, Multiple Floors alone is seriously a mind-blowing amount of opportunity, and I mean, it's very unique. It bums me out sometimes when I see reviews that say the game isn't ready, or what have they been doing for a year. Even some of these reviews, the balance is off. You know, I would urge you to understand that we don't think we're ready yet. We're still here working with you every day because there's still more opportunity that we have not explored yet, and we want to explore that. We would ask you, you know, when we do go to release, please judge us against a release status. But until then, we aren't released, we're in early access, and we're working on the game very hard. I would even go a little bit further and say, if you see issues, if you think the balance is off, bring it to our attention. Give us some time to fix it. I know some of the balance concerns and issues they've been brought up before. I feel like we've tried to get quick fixes in or quick improvements where possible without getting totally sidetracked from the major projects we're working on. I mean, truth be told, while working on Multiple Floors for 3+ months, we really couldn't focus on a whole lot else. You know, Rob was able to take a month and a half to work on translations while I really got the base stuff going for Multiple Floors, but it's required all of our focus. But we still managed to slide some stuff in to get you guys some relief in the short term. So I guess what I would ask is if you're hitting bugs or crashes, please, by all means, leave a negative review. Ideally, report it first, let us know. But you know, if you're having a terrible experience, we understand. If the game just isn't for you, we understand. If you really like the game and the balance is a problem, or you wish the passengers were smarter, please bring that up. Give us a chance to fix it. In some cases, it's just a bug, and sometimes these bugs only affect certain layouts. Sometimes the distances are right on a threshold, you know, or other times, such as in this case, the passenger AI, you know, is much smarter on the multi-floors update than it was on default. And so please just keep in mind that game development, especially a game like this, there are so many interconnected systems, and we can really only focus on one or two at once. We need your feedback to know that there are problems, and we would love to get your ideas on the fixes, because sometimes the problem is really easy. You know, that's the easy part, is seeing it's too hard to make money. Well, giving us a better idea, ideally, you might identify that problem and provide some ideas on fixing it. We're not asking you guys to do all the work. We're more than capable of it, but oftentimes it's a lot easier for us to quickly action something if we've got an idea that, you know, that is a directly actionable idea. At the end of the day, please know, Rob and I are both, you know, we're two real people. We work really hard on this game. We have put countless hours and weekends into SimAirport. We really are passionate about this game. I mean, we will bicker between ourselves sometimes about game mechanics. You know, we've worked with each other for 10+ years now, and for us to be bickering over how the baggage utilities work, it just goes to show you how much we really do care about SimAirport. And so, you know, please remember, SimAirport, it's just a ton of systems. There's only 2 of us. We're working through this stuff as quick as we can. We try to be really honest with you. Hopefully the Trello board will help you guys better understand where we're at in the process and give you guys a little bit better transparency without requiring, you know, constant drain from us, so we can stay focused on really solving the issues. In the meantime, if you are having fun with the game and you haven't yet, please leave a review. If you have issues, please let us know. We're doing our very best. You know, Linux had a bug. I believe it requires a command line option or something. It took us too long to get to it. We're not dodging our emails. I am sorry that it took us so long to get back to the Linux players. You know, it wasn't on purpose. If you feel like you're being ignored, make a post. We're not gonna jump on you guys for bumping posts. We forget things. We forget to write them down. So, you know, we're real people just like you guys are. Bring stuff to our attention. We care about the game, and at the end of the day, that's what really matters. If you guys have a great idea, we don't care whose idea it is. If you have a great fix or you found the worst bug known, let us know. We want to give you guys the best gameplay experience we possibly can. So with all that said, we've talked about, you know, some of the stuff that's going to be coming up. We're going to be getting airport sales, a number of balance items here. Check out Trello to see some of the details. And then, you know, the biggest one that I haven't spoken about yet is performance and optimization. Let's talk a little bit about performance. You'll see that we've got a number of performance items up on the Trello. There's a big one that we're going to get tackled this cycle, and that is agent movement and rendering. You know, when we launched the game, you could probably get 100, maybe 200 passengers up before the game slowed to a crawl, and probably all the passengers froze, and it was a nightmare. About 3 months later, we spent the entire cycle on a performance update and got crowd pathfinding in, and it was a night and day difference. It was probably upwards of 50, 70+% performance increase. People were able to run, you know, 1,000+ passengers. Today, you know, we hear reports people are getting, you know, a couple thousand passengers. I think the number we hear most often right now is about 4,000. It stays playable up to on most hardware. I personally feel it stays playable to maybe about 1,500. My definition of playable is probably a little bit rougher than most, but you'll see on this map right now, tons of passengers spawning. It's still pretty responsive. It doesn't feel quite as good as I'd like it to feel though. And 4,000 isn't nearly enough. We've run a bunch of tests over time. It turns out that in Unity, which is the engine that we use for SimAirport, if you just create 40,000 objects and try to move them around, you're not going to get very far. Once you get above about 10,000 in Unity, you will pretty much be under 60 frames a second. And with that limitation, it basically means even if we got to 10,000, we don't have any time every frame to do any calculations or figure out where should these guys move or what object should they go to. You know, so it pretty much is an unworkable solution, right? If you can get to only about 10,000, I'd like to get higher than that. And if in order to do that, you have to remove all the AI and pathfinding, what's the point? So we've done a lot more testing, and we have worked out several ways where we're able to get about 100,000 objects on screen and get them all moving at once and still have very good frame rates. Now, I said 100,000 just now. That's without any AI, that's without any pathfinding. We won't come anywhere near that. But I would hope that we'll hopefully come near maybe 10 to 15,000. That would be my goal. I'm not sure if we can actually do that. I think we can get definitely the numbers that people are mentioning. I think we can get close to 60 frames a second at those numbers, at 4,000 or 5,000. And then if we can get to 10,000 where, you know, you're at maybe 20 or 30 frames, I'd be happy with that, but not thrilled. That's what we're talking about doing though. In this next cycle, we're going to be putting efforts into performance and specifically in working around Unity's limitations. In the meantime though, we have worked out a couple of ways. Should be able to get at least 10,000, if not upwards of that. That's what we aim to do in this next cycle. It's going to be one more fairly major reworking of some architecture. Nowhere near the scope of multiple floors, probably. That really required touching pretty much everything. But that's what our goal is, just to give you an idea. So the agent movement and rendering task or card on Trello. Our goal is basically to be able to render these passengers with a much lower overhead, hopefully a non-linear overhead. We really just have to look at the pathfinding and the AI costs, which we can control, instead of worrying about how many total passengers are on screen. You know, it's a little bit of a surprise to some people. It's a surprise to us that Unity's so expensive to move stuff around, but you know, it's just the cost of things being so easy in Unity. The details are all abstracted, and so you end up with these situations where you need to kind of do things yourself if you really want all the performance. So that's something to be able to look forward to next cycle. It'll probably be a little bit later in the month, but just to give you an idea what our kind of hopes are in that realm. While we're talking about performance, I did want to mention one thing. There's a post recently about performance in the forum. We've seen this mindset a few times in the past. People saying, stop working on anything and just work on performance. You know, on release day, we had people saying that same thing. I agree with them to a point. The problem with just focusing on performance is that if the game performs perfectly, but nobody's interested in playing it anymore, then what good does that do? If the game is just, if there's not enough fun stuff to do or to build. And so that's why our approach has always been to a balance. We call it a breadth first approach. We'll take a cycle here and there to focus on performance or to focus on system X or Y. You really got to attack things on all fronts to a large degree, because if one system gets way behind, or if there's just not enough systems, even if performance is great, if nobody's playing the game, that doesn't matter. And so just to give you an idea why kind of our mindset, how we arrived at the fact that, you know, we have focused, especially the last few months, really on gameplay stuff. That's the reason. And you know, the reality is, like I mentioned earlier, it's just two of us. It just takes us some time to get to all this. But you'll be happy to hear that performance is something we're going to be making concerted effort on in this upcoming cycle. And I think you can be pretty confident you're going to be seeing some pretty massive improvements. So we've got an awesome new cycle coming up. You know, pathfinding, aircraft pathfinding, I'm thrilled. Performance, yeah, please. I mean, this runs much better what you're seeing here than it does in my development environment. It runs way slower. We can't wait for performance. Gameplay balance is going to be huge. And then tutorial is just kind of that missing piece to help those of you who are interested in playing this game, but that, you know, maybe haven't played Prison Architect or RimWorld or this type of game before. It should allow you to really get in there and, you know, get the basics and not have to rely only on the community to explain how to play, but having us tell you how to really use all the systems. And then, as always, you know, we'll be getting bug fixes out, translation improvements, but we've got a great cycle coming up. This one's been a long one. It's been a huge one. We thank you guys. And really just standing by us and understanding that it is just two of us and that we are working hard, and it just takes time. We really appreciate it. We would not be here if it wasn't for your support, your continued engagement, and we thank you tremendously for that. And you know, we hope you guys enjoy this update. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot to play with. Should be a fun one. Should give you guys a lot more you can do. Let's talk a little bit about aircraft pathfinding today. So, there's nothing worse than aircraft getting stuck. Here in a second, we're going to see a couple aircraft coming in, and if you check out this layout, you'll see this layout's not very good. I'd kind of expect aircraft to get stuck or at least be pretty delayed. We're pretty excited. We think we've found what we consider to really be the solution. So you end up with situations like this, and I mean, it angers me. I see this and I'm just frustrated that it's ridiculous, right? I mean, are these guys stupid? Everybody needs to get out of the way and let one side go and the other side not go, right? It's not rocket science. The difficulty here, however, is making all this happen in real time. We probably tried to do a little bit too much with this, and what we've done now, we've kind of taken a step back and taken a really fresh approach. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys. We understand, I mean, this is terrible. Like, that, it doesn't make any sense. This is what we ask you to do right now is you hire a ramp agent. This ramp agent is gonna run out here, and here he is. He touches that runway, and now all of a sudden, all these aircraft just kind of go through each other. Basically, they just start ignoring each other, though. This was what we saw as just a short-term solution. It's better than asking you to click on the aircraft and, you know, break deadlock and all that. This is what's on default now, has been on experimental, and is what's going to go out with the current patch. We're not making any changes. It's too late in the cycle, but we have been working on the fix for this. I'm really excited to be able to show it to you. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now with this exact same map and give you an idea of what is coming up in terms of aircraft pathfinding. We always try to be looking for the end-all, be-all solution, right? And with some of this stuff, it's really tough. We fix one thing, and lo and behold, the next system down the line needs improved. We had escalators, and now everything has to be smart enough to handle one-ways. Now agents need better heuristics so that they understand distance more accurately with multiple levels and with one-ways. Okay, so I just caught a bug here, but generally this is working correctly. There are going to be some bugs. This isn't going out with default. It's not even ready for Edge yet. What you're going to see is these guys are a lot smarter. The reason these guys down here are saying they've got no runway, basically they're trying to see if they've got a path yet. Okay, so these guys are undocking now. We're going to see if these guys figure it out. And would you look at that? These guys are getting out of the way so that those guys could come in and dock. And then we're going to see what happens up here again. Same thing. Now, is that smart or what? So this isn't finished by any means, but what I want to really get across to you is we're aware that aircraft pathfinding still stinks, but we've got it figured out. I am confident that the days of seeing stuck aircraft are behind us. So you can expect to see this hitting Edge probably in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, until next time, hopefully not 3 months this time, we'll do our best. But in the meantime, please have fun, check it out. Please take the survey, leave feedback in the forum, check out the Trello board, the roadmap for what you can expect. Give us ideas in the forum, add notes, vote on items on the Trello board. If you haven't done so, leave us a review. It really helps to support the game. It helps get new players seeing the game. Frankly, it helps our state of mind. It helps us know that we're still, that what we do matters, that you guys do care. And, you know, above all, enjoy the game. We hope you do. If you have issues, email us save. We take it seriously. We'll get on it and get fixes out if that's what it needs. And yeah, from Rob and I, both, we thank you. We hope you enjoyed this update, and we'll talk to you guys again when the next update's finished. Hopefully less than 3 months this time around. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it.